Welcome, fellow horror hounds, and welcome to the latest episode of Talk and Stalk, your unholy home for horror. I'm your host, as always, Barry, and I'm joined today by my two amigos, Joseph.
Hey, folks.
And Pete.
Hi, guys.
Glad to have you both here, man. Joseph, welcome back. Obviously, I know you've been away for a little while, and it's brilliant to have you back, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
The podcast has been crumbling into ruins without you. In all honesty, Pete's been missing you day in day out, and that he's been getting withdrawal symptoms and that, and we couldn't wait for you to get back. So
thanks, guys.
Now,
Thank you.
obviously, this is a podcast, isn't it? This is actually one that we talked about a little while ago. We just really wanted to talk about scenes that scared us, scenes that not necessarily just scared us, scenes that maybe disturbed us. The majority of films that I've got on my list are films that scared my younger self, films that really left a lasting impression on me. Some of these scenes I think are quite iconic. They probably don't need any introduction whatsoever to horror fans. How are we going to do this? We'll get the ball rolling. Joseph, if you want to talk about a scene that scared your younger self.
Yeah. Well, the first one that I had written down, and it's a scene that actually I watched it recently, and it still actually really got to me. And it's actually the ending till the Blair Witch.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Project. Yeah. It's one that most people would kind of you imagine they kind of go, oh yeah, the guy in the corner and stuff, but recently when I rewatched it and stuff, and if you really, really get invested in it, when you're really with it, and as soon as she turns and you see the guy in the corner, and it's, to me, it's such a payoff. It's great. Because obviously they talk about it earlier, the witch would send you in the corner and stuff,
Yeah.
But I found myself so invested in it this time, and when that happened, I mean, my hair stood on end, and I said, "That is so clever, so clever," and you see nothing.
No, that's right.
Which I think's perfect,
It is one of them scenes, isn't it? It's one of them scenes. Now, some people felt kind of like cheated, like, what the hell? What, the movie's end? The film's finished. What? But you have to rely on your memory, because if you can remember what a certain character says earlier during the course of the movie, it pertains to that. But I think that probably a lot of people didn't really make the connection and didn't actually think about that earlier statement. So some people were quite bemused as to the ending. But no, I agree. I thought it was a good ending. It's one of the most divisive, if not the most divisive horror film of all time, The Blair Witch Project. Some people love it. Some people absolutely hate that movie. What about you, Pete? What's your stance on Blair Witch Project? Are you for it or?
Yeah, I don't know. At that time with the hype, that kind of put me off a bit, and I thought I'm not going to try and ignore all that and just watch it on its own merit.
Yeah.
I found it quite a challenging watch, because it's so repetitive with a handheld camera, and it kind of wears a bit thin after a while. But yeah, I would say the ending, by that time, it's too late for me.
Yeah, it's it really kind of opened the floodgates, didn't it? The big commercial success kind of opened and then we started to see found footage film after found footage film and that. But to me, very few of these films have been able to kind of have that level of authenticity to them. The Blair Witch Project felt like real people, a real situation, and that's what I really appreciate the film for. But no, you're right. There was a hell of a lot of hype surrounding it and all that, and obviously the publicity played a huge, massive part in that film's success. Pete, what's a scene that got you?
A scene that got me, right, I have to say, when I was very young, when I saw, and it still gets me to this day, is when George C. Scott is playing back the recording of the seance in the Changeling.
Yeah.
And it picks up the voice of, I can actually feel the hairs on the back of my neck going up now, now, thinking when Joseph, the ghost boy, starts to speak and the tape recording has picked it up.
Yeah.
And he plays it and replays it and replays it. And oh, wow. Goosebumps on goosebumps for me.
Yeah.
Really scared me. That
admittedly, I'm ashamed to admit I don't remember the scene. It's a great horror film. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've seen The Changeling. It is a great horror film though, but I just wish that I could actually remember the scene so I can. Yeah.
Tonight, promise me after this, you go on YouTube. It's on YouTube. That seance scene, and he replays the tape recording of the seance, picks up the voice. You don't hear it at first. Then he plays it again because he knows he's missed something.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm
Wonderful.
definitely gonna have to rewatch that scene. But yeah, it's a great horror film, and I believe even though it's been a while, I think it actually got to my second place in top 5 horror films of 1980. Obviously, The Shining is my favorite horror movie of that year. Now, a scene for me is this might be the first horror film I ever saw, and it's the transformation scene in An American Werewolf in London. Now, I saw that as a young child, and that scene just absolutely traumatized me. Even now, that film has such a real kind of raw, visceral quality to it. You can really feel the pain that he's going through during that transformation. And that's what John Landis really wanted and Rick Baker wanted for this scene to be painful. You can really feel it. And it's, to me personally, it probably still is the greatest ever werewolf transformation scene we've had on the big screen. I think, Rick Baker's practical effects were just top notch. Whereas The Howling's was great. The Howling has a great werewolf transformation scene. The difference is with that, it's done in darkness. With this, you see it in like all its glory. If that's the right word to use. And as a young kid, I was crying my eyes out. I don't even know who put it on, but we had it on VHS, and I was sitting there. What's that?
Where are you? Were you crying? Were you upset? Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, I don't know who put it on. Yeah, we had it on VHS. I always remember the front cover to it, and I just remember screaming and crying. And fortunately, Childline wasn't phoned on my parents or anything, but I'm pretty certain it was one of them. One of them had actually put that film on with me in the room, and it is my favorite werewolf movie now. But yeah, that scene just always left an impression with me. So Joseph, what's one for you, man?
Okay, you'll like this, and it's a very quick scene, but even till now, when I see it, it really creeps me out, and it's actually from The Shining, and it's the scene when Jack is staring at Danny and Wendy when they're playing in the snow.
Oh yeah.
And there's the slow tracking shot. I think it is absolutely petrifying. Nothing happens, and it just shows you how crazy Jack has got.
It's the music, isn't it, that really goes with it. That The Shining has a very understated, creepy score to it. It's very effectively used. I know the exact scene you're talking about. Yeah, he looks completely and utterly crazed at this point in the film. Yeah.
It just really creeps me out.
To be quite honest, I look quite similar after I've done a 4.5-hour shift at work. That is what I look like, basically. So, that is creepy. Yeah, when you said The Shining, I thought to myself immediately, this could be any number of scenes.
Yeah.
Because that film has quite a few. If you were to say another scene as well, is there another scene that kind of comes to mind that you find creepy in The Shining?
Now, obviously I could say, the Grady twins and stuff, obviously, but there's another scene, and I think it's ones that really die-hard fans would maybe say, most people probably wouldn't mention it, is when Wendy's at the end going around the hotel, and you have the guy in the bear suit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's just like WTF, you know. So you just like, what the fuck is going on, you know?
Yeah.
But
I always
that's
used to
what I
find the
love.
creepy old lady quite creepy. That scene where he goes into room 237.
37, yeah.
And
That's
I
good.
always found that scene kind of creepy again. Just you know, as I say, the music just accompanies it perfectly. What about you, Pete?
Well, we'll keep with the Shining,
Oh,
because
okay.
that was one of my
Oh,
choices,
nice.
right? And you've what? Well, there's two in particular, but one you've mentioned, Barry, the bath scene.
Okay.
That gets me every time.
Yeah.
It's because it's the sense of decay in the body. You know, the transformation from the young nubile girl that he's attracted to.
Yeah.
You know, he embraces her, and then it becomes this rotten old hag.
Yeah.
It's like mud.
Yeah.
It's like kind of green mud. Oh, it's horrible.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
disturbing.
that's
And the other scene is all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy scene.
Okay.
I find that whole scene when she's like going through all the paper,
Yeah.
it's all the same text, different layouts,
Yeah.
and then he's behind her and he comes at her with a baseball bat up the staircase. That whole sequence.
I love that. I love it when he's up there and he's like, what is it? I don't want to hurt you. I just want to bash your brains in. I just want to bash them the fucking.
Yeah.
That's it. Terrifying.
127 takes that scene took.
Yeah.
That was one of the questions, wasn't it, on one of the quizzes
It
that we did.
was. Yeah.
But yeah,
Great scene.
it's certainly one of the most iconic as well. I mean, The Shining is one of them horror films that has so many like iconic scenes to it. It's like, what do you choose? You've got the Grady twins, you've got the hedge maze, you've got the "Here's Johnny" line bashing through the door. It just has so many moments to it. Now, one for me is, again, I saw this as a young kid, and for a long time I never knew what it was from. I didn't know if it was from a TV show, a film. It wasn't until I was about 16, 17 years old I discovered what it was from, and it's the climax of this movie that terrified the hell out of me, and that is Don't Look Now.
Oh.
The little dwarf, like, spoiler alert, I'm hoping most people have seen Don't Look Now. I've just ruined it if not. Obviously, you know, it's a film about grief, and he chases what he believes to be his young daughter through the streets, and he corners her and she's crying in the corner, and then turns around and, oh my God, just it's that old dwarf lady. And just that image of her turning around just creeped the hell out of me. You know, I just think the climax to that film is there's just a sense of dread that permits that film. You just know, you know, there's something sinister afoot, and just the ending, the chase, because I think they make a great sense of, they really use the setting of Venice to great effect in that movie as well. It's like a labyrinth of tunnels, and just that chase near the end, and he corners her, and when she turns around, to me, that's just like one of the scariest climaxes in a horror movie. And I discovered what it was when I was 16, and I watched it, and it still kind of freaks me now. It hasn't got quite the same impact as what it had as a kid, but it's still very creepy.
It's the best part of the film, really.
It's the whole build up, isn't it? It's really kind of like the whole build up to that moment. So Joseph, what's another one for you, man?
Okay, now this one is very off kilter, and maybe I've not have heard of this, but are you familiar with like the BBC Christmas ghost stories that they used to do?
Yes.
Like the MRG ones.
Yeah.
Have you seen Whistle and I'll Come to You?
Oh yes.
I don't believe I have, no.
Hell yes.
I knew Pete, I knew you would, mate. Yeah. You know, there's a scene in it where Michael Horton's character, he finds the whistle on the beach. Yeah, you know it, yeah. And he takes it back to his hotel room, and when he blows it.
Good choice.
And then there's a scene when he's walking back along the beach, and when he turns, and in the distance you see this figure just way in the distance with the setting sun, and it's absolutely petrifying. It's really chilling. It's really, really, really creepy. And that still would creep me out to this day.
I've not seen it.
You're in for a
I've
treat.
actually heard of it, but yeah.
It's really good.
That's creepy.
Yeah, I've not actually seen that. So yeah, I'll definitely have to put that on the radar then to watch.
You'll
Yeah,
like it.
the to watch list. So Pete, what's one for you, man?
Right, not so much now, but when I was 10, yes, it really did scare me. And it's the third story in a film called Trilogy of Terror.
Oh, the Zuni fetish doll.
Yeah.
Oh, I still think that's
that's
pretty.
Yeah,
That's a creepy looking thing, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at 10, wow, it's a whole new show.
Yeah.
And I think I was up all night.
Yeah.
It was so frightening, because there was no escape from it. The blade underneath the bathroom door.
Yeah.
Put it in a suitcase. Put it in a towel. Try to drown it. And you're thinking, oh my God, But for a TV movie, terrifying.
Yeah.
Really
That is,
frightening.
I think that segment is the standout segment of the film.
It is.
Overall, it's actually a good film. It's a pretty good anthology. But that is the one segment that everyone talks about, the Zuni fetish doll. It is. I've actually seen that you can actually get it as a replica and whatnot. Yes, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much it costs. It's probably quite costly in that. But yeah,
It could join your friends behind you.
He would
could,
actually, yeah, he would look out of place there, would he? Really? Yeah. But I don't think there's even any room left in there, to be quite honest, man. But no, that's a good segment.
Don't turn your back on him. I don't.
Yeah. Okay, one for me now. Now, this is actually one of my favorite 80s horror movies. This is a horror film that I love. But again, I saw it at a young age, and there was one scene in particular that terrified me, because to me it kind of played on a certain fear, and it's Glenn's death from Nightmare on Elm Street. Johnny Depp's death in Nightmare on Elm Street, just being pulled into the bed, just the whole being scared to fall asleep. The whole concept is a scary one, and it's just Glenn's death. He's just laying there on the bed, and he gets pulled into the bed. And I was probably 5 years old when I saw that, 5 or 6 years old. I was scared to go to sleep. I was absolutely terrified to go to sleep after watching that. It's a great scene. It's one of the best deaths of the entire franchise. But yeah, that absolutely terrified. And of course, we get that whole geyser of blood, don't we, that shoots up on the wall. It's a really, really memorable sequence. So for me, there's so many other moments in the film I love. One scene, I wouldn't say necessarily. One of my favourite scenes of the whole movie is actually when Nancy's asleep in the bath and Freddy's gloves coming out. I love that whole scene, that whole shot. It's great. And then she wakes up and he pulls it back. But yeah, Glenn's death, just scared. I was scared to go to sleep after that. So Joseph, what's one for you?
The next one that I have is actually the opening scene of Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay. The opening. They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah. I mean, even before anything happens, there's something off. You can't put your finger on it. Even when Barbara and Johnny's driving to the cemetery, there's just something so off, and that there. And then obviously, when the girl kills Johnny, spoiler alert, and then it's just that relentless chase with the zombie after Barbara. She gets in the car crashes, she gets out of the car, and he just keeps coming and coming and coming, and it's so creepy. There's just something so off about it, because I'm like her, I don't really kind of catch my breath till she gets to the farmhouse. She's just running and running, and it cuts back and he's still coming and stuff, and even though he's walking really slow, it just seems like that he's always there. And I just, that's what creeps me out. You know, it's just how you feel like you're running as fast as you can, but it's no good. You know, it's just
that was one of the most terrifying experiences I ever had watching a horror movie for the first time, Night of the Living Dead. Again, I saw that young age on my own. You know, the whole black and white, low budget, I think, just adds to the film's creepiness. And
absolutely,
the scene that you mentioned, actually, the scene that always stuck in my mind was the scene where she kills her mother with the spade, isn't it? It's like a gardening tool, isn't it? Doesn't she use?
Yeah, is that a trowel?
What's that?
Is that a trowel? A trowel or something?
It could be, yes, it could be actually. I'm not going to pretend to be Alan Titchmarsh or anything like that. I'm no gardener. But yeah, it was, yeah, I think it might have been. The whole scene, and again, her screaming and just, the whole, back then, nowadays, zombies are done to death, excuse the pun, but back then, zombies absolutely terrified the hell out of me. As a young kid, zombies, the whole idea of dead people coming back to life and feeding on the flesh of the living was such a scary goddamn concept. Night of the Living Dead, I'm with you there. That, like, the whole film kind of scared me. As a kid and that. Pete, what's one for you? I'm just going to quickly say there is one on here. I reckon that both of you might have as well. I'm going to see. We'll see if we can get to the end of this. And we'll see if I'm right.
Okay.
What's your next one?
I would have to go way back to 1981 when it was on television for the first time by the BBC. The BBC screened it in 2 parts, Salem's Lot.
Oh,
it created such a stir. It created such a stir at the time. But between the Glick boys at the window.
You've just confirmed, mate. You've just confirmed. Joseph, have you got it on the list as well?
I did.
But I tell you what's even worse than the boys at the window is the guy in the rocking chair.
Oh God, no.
That frightens the life out of me.
Yeah.
It's the way it's his physicality, the way he gets up and speaks to Lou Ayres. It really is spine chilling.
I think Salem's Lot probably has the scariest looking vampires out there. I think when that film came out, this is back when vampires were scary. You know, there wasn't like a massive, huge oversaturation of them. And that scene at the window, that's the scene I had on there. And I thought both of you might have it on there as well. Again, I saw that probably 7 or 8 years old. And I mean, I haven't seen Salem's Lot in a while, so I don't know how effectively scary it would be to me now. But back then, and the scene in the rocket, and let's not forget, what's his name? Kurt Barlow. When you actually get the reveal of him, the first appearance of him. Clearly modelled on Nosferatu, Count Orlok, one scary-looking vampire.
And there's also another really frightening scene in the kitchen. When you manifest in the kitchen.
Yes, I remember that.
Don't actually get to see what you need to watch the whole scene to get the impact. But oh God,
Okay. So now the next one is one of the most modern. I was 16 years old when I saw this. This was released in 98. It's a Japanese horror movie, and that is Ringu. And I thought the film overall was actually scary. Again, you know, there's a sense of dread. You know, there's a great sense of creepiness and atmosphere to this film. But the scene that actually really scared me, and it's the most iconic scene from the movie, is in which she comes out of the TV. She comes out of the well and she starts slowly walking towards the TV and she comes through it. Even my 16-year-old self was scared of that scene. Really terrified me. Obviously it was redone in the 2002 remake, which I thought, as remakes go, was actually a good one. But that whole scene. There was also another scene, just very subtle, where she's just watched the videotape and she ejects it, and you quickly see a figure stood behind her. Very quickly, and it's like, I'll be honest, I remember pausing the movie It made me feel uneasy, and I quickly looked behind myself. I remember that moment making. Now, if that was a James Wan film, that would have been a jump scare or something. There would have been a jump scare. But this film doesn't rely on that, and that's what I found really creepy about it. So yeah, that's the TV scene from Ring. Is a scene that I did find effectively scary.
Good choice.
What about you, Joseph?
I actually had Ring on,
Okay.
but another one is the reveal scene from Lake Mungo.
Okay, I only watched that for the first time last year, I believe.
Yes, and I love the idea that, again, it's just the build up, you know, because you're waiting to find out what all this is building towards, and then obviously when you find out what it is, it actually, like, I've shown it to a number of people now, and every single one of them has actually genuinely been creeped out by it.
Yeah.
Because they genuinely don't think it's what it's going to be, you know. But yeah, I just think it's genius. I think it's so well done. So well done.
Have you seen it, Joe? Pete, have you seen Lake Mungo?
Do you know what? I have it on DVD. I've still to watch it.
Okay.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Well, I will watch that this weekend.
I'd heard really good things about it, and I'd never seen it. And I only knew it by title, and I think I watched it I'm pretty certain it's on YouTube. And I watched it on YouTube and it was a really good found footage film. It's I'm just trying to remember. Didn't you say it's come out on Blu-ray, isn't it? Didn't you buy it on Blu-ray quite recently?
Yeah, Second Sight released it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember because I think you put a picture on Facebook of it, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Pete, what's one for you?
Okay, another segue into found footage. This time, found footage films. One, I would say, one that actually scared me in the last 10 years.
Go on.
Really, really unnerved me. Have a guess.
Okay, right. My first instinct.
Uh-huh.
It's not going to be that, I don't think. But my first instinct was Wreck.
No.
But it's not Wreck. Okay, I'm going to say The Borderlands.
No.
Oh, can I have... All right, one more guess. A found footage horror film that unnerved you?
Really?
I'm struggling to think of one that would be deemed really unnerving. Not Grave Encounters, surely not. No, go on, tell us.
Sinister.
Oh, that's not found footage.
Yeah, but it's not, but it is.
I was thinking you meant the whole film was shot on handheld camera.
Sorry, no. Beg your pardon, sorry, but I mean it contained that element of it, with the 8mm footage from, and that really, my God, the music in that film is enough.
Yeah, but
the visuals accompanying the music is the stuff of nightmares. Really, really.
Was there a scene? Was there one scene in particular? Was there one scene in this film that affected you a little more than the others?
It was collectively all the 8mm footage.
Okay.
All of those, I thought, because the authenticity of it, it just looked like it was. I mean, they'd done it so well. It was so grainy, so believable. The styles, the fashions, the families, and then the contrast of the normal family having fun and then being murdered. In front of your eyes.
Yeah,
Pots
I remember.
In the car are pulled into the pool one by one.
Yeah,
it was just so disturbing.
I remember the scene as well where the family are sleeping and the person's going from bed to bed and cutting their throats.
Oh, sleepy time.
Sleepy, no, I like Sinister. I don't know if you've seen the sequel. I wouldn't recommend it.
No,
there is a Sinister 2. But now.
Sorry for misleading you there about the found footage, but
you're always leading me on, ain't you, man? Always leading me on down a. Yeah, I know.
That's it. Now that's how rumours start.
We'll get a room one of these days, Pete. Don't worry.
That's how rumours start.
Okay, now this is a film that I still find effectively creepy now. And this is a psychological horror film. It's not reliant on jump scares or anything like that. This is one of my, anyone that knows me knows I love this movie. And that is Magic, released in 78. Fats the Dummy is creepy. Just the whole interaction, just any scene where he's in alone with Fats and they're communicating. And like the scene, for example, the scene that really kind of like was etched in my brain was a scene where he's actually taken his agent out to the water to get rid of the body, and Fats is up there in the window, just staring the whole time, and he's obviously positioned him near the window, and it's just really and it's just Jerry Goldsmith's score that accompanies that whole scene. It's that kind of string score. It's really effective. I think dummies are generally quite creepy things. Anyway, and I think Fats the Dummy is probably the creepiest dummy that's ever been put to film. So really the whole film, but if I had to choose one scene, it probably is that scene where he's leading him out to the water. Oh no, and there's another scene where he goes into the bathroom. Anthony Hopkins goes in there and Fats from outside the door says, "Open the door so I can see you." And he opens the door and he's just sitting there on the chair looking at him. That's frigging creepy.
It is.
That's all you need. That's all you need. That's what I mean. Just a shot, just one shot of a dummy sitting there in a chair. So Magic, the film as a whole, but there are a couple of the creepiest scenes for me.
That was one of mine.
Oh, it was. See, great minds think alike, man. Right, hang on a sec. So, Joseph, what's the next film on your list? The next scene, should I say?
It's actually the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's the chase sequence.
What in the woods at night?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so relentless. It never stops, and the fact that Leatherface there's moments where he is so close to Sally. It's just like, you're just like, is she actually going to survive this? Because, like you watch like the makings of and stuff, and like Gunner would even say, I came so close, to Marlon, and stuff. But it's just, from the moment when Leatherface comes out of the darkness and kills Franklin, and it's just like it goes round in circles. She goes to the house, he gets into the house, she jumps through the window, back down, back out again. It never stops. You never get a break.
Yeah.
It's just
Gunnar Hansen had to run slow, didn't he? He had to actually slow down because she was such a slow runner, and he would have ended up overtaking her and catching up to her like way too easy. It's a great sequence. I know you're not a big fan of Texas Chainsaw, are you, Pete? No. I've lost 20 subscribers now. But I'm going to joke. I love that whole sequence. I mean, it's a long sequence. It's a very long chase. It is a long chase. I thought when you said Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I thought you was going to say the moment in which he kind of comes out of nowhere and smashes a guy over the head with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Which was like a really unexpected moment.
Mention.
Yeah. Pete, what's one for you?
Okay. I think one scene that really, really did freak me out when I saw it when I was very young is the crucifix scene in The Exorcist.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how they get away with it. It was a major studio, Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
12-year-old girl.
That's the one scene I was talking to Joseph about before we started re-recording, is that scene is the one scene to this day that still just makes me cringe.
It's like it sends a shockwave through my whole body. It just really, it's like as if I've got an electric shock.
Yeah.
It carries such a charge. you know, the whole scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
powerful.
scene
And
it really is very shocking. Even now, and like you said, I mean, this film was released at the end of 1973, and even now, that scene, just the whole like implication of it, even if it wasn't as overtly graphic as what it is, it's very very daring, very daring.
It's very
the whole concept of it, and the fact even the mother's involvement, and that's me being polite in that one sequence. The mother's involvement, what she makes her mother do, is beyond. I mean, that's beyond comprehension.
Yeah,
It's in the novel, but how they managed to get away with depicting it on screen the way they did, just wow.
There is another scene that I find that was actually a deleted scene. It was deleted from the theatrical cut. The spider walk sequence. That's really quite freaky.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's something that's become very much kind of a staple of demonic possession films in that sense. But to have seen that, you know, on release and whatever in the late, I mean, that film was just, nobody had seen anything like it.
No,
you know, it's easy to see why that film caused a huge impact. So yeah, well, The Exorcist was going to be that. I was going to talk about The Exorcist because there's a few, again, like The Shining, there's quite a few scenes, quite a few iconic scenes to that movie.
There is.
Now I'm going to go for something like very modern here, actually. Well, we'll say very modern in comparison to what we've been talking about. 2001's Session 9. What really creeps me out in that film, what I find very disturbing in horror, a very disturbing theme, is multiple personality disorder. And it's basically just the listening of the videotapes in Session 9 that really gets under my skin. It unnerves me. Obviously, the character finds these videotapes, these interviews with a patient there who clearly has multiple personality disorder. And you hear her talking through all these different voices of these people that live inside her. That just creeps me out. That really creeps me out. I've always found it to be a very disturbing theme when used in horror. There's actually a video on YouTube where you can actually just listen to all of the interviews. And I'll be honest, it's, to me, that's scarier than any goddamn horror movie, any horror film out there. Just hearing a woman speaking as a little boy and like, oh, yeah. Session 9, it's a good and a pretty overlooked and pretty underrated horror film. But it's really them tapes. It's them interview tapes that really get me, that really freak me out. So what's one for you, Joseph?
This one, an absolute classic. It's from Halloween, and it's probably, we have chatted about this before, but it's when Tommy first sees Michael in the distance outside the house. Again, it's bone chilling and nothing happens, and it brings that whole idea of Michael being a myth, just this figure standing in the distance, you know, and it seems like nobody sees him, you know.
And then he's gone. He's got like the and then they look out and he's gone. And because that was actually Deborah Hill. We talked about this before, didn't we? That was Deborah Hill, wasn't it? Deborah Hill in that shot. It's a great moment. Again, Halloween's another film that I think just has so many standout sequences. There's so many shots in that film, and that is definitely one of the most iconic. I think that's one of the best shots in the entire film.
It is.
That shot. Do you know one of my favourite scenes in that film? Not scary. I don't find it scary. I love the scene where Laurie has just dropped the keys off to the Myers house and she's walking away. I wish I had you all. And Myers has just stood there at the forefront of the camera, watching her walk the whole way down the street. I just love that. I love how it's filmed. I just love how she's completely unaware that there's somebody stood there. So it's a good scene, man. I love that. So what's yours, Pete?
I'm probably going to go with a film that I saw when I was very young, a film that was made in 1955, round about that time.
Oh, don't tell me.
Um,
I think I know what it is.
Okay.
Is it more a thriller, Le Diabolique?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
it's not. It's not. It's not.
I would have put money on that.
I might have the year wrong.
Okay.
I might have the year wrong. It was in the 50s anyway.
Okay.
Night of the Hunter.
Oh, yes. Yeah, great film.
yes.
Robert Mitchum, the bad
That's the
boy of
one.
Hollywood. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Aye. I mean, it's a kinda. It's not really a horror film per se, but it's definitely nightmare inducing
Yeah.
because he was a terrifying villain and children involved and goes after the kids, and Charles Lawton's only Turner's director,
Yeah.
and my God, he made a good job of it.
Yeah.
He does.
So atmospheric, so creepy, and Robert Mitchum, I think he's just electrifying to watch.
Oh yeah, because
Yes.
of course he was kind of like bad boy villain of Hollywood. I mean, he Cape Fear as well, wasn't it, in '62?
Yep.
Right,
Alongside Gregory Peck. Yeah, great in that as well. Night of the Hunter's a film. I've seen it. It's just been a long time. It's been such a long time. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't he have Love and Hate on his?
Yeah.
Tattooed on his hands.
Yeah.
Yes, because he's a minister. He's a minister. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying really the film as a whole, then the movie as a whole, kind of.
I think the nighttime scenes, when Robert Mitchum is pursuing the children and they're trying to get away. I think they're in a boat or a raft.
Okay.
Or something,
Yeah.
but they're trying to escape them anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just really frightening. It's really frightening.
Yeah. Even the scene when they're in the barn, the kids are in the barn, and the little boy can hear him singing, and you
That's
see him
right.
in the distance coming on the horse.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
see it in that's right. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, because you see the pretty silhouette, isn't it? It's
It is. Yeah.
aye, and the landscape. Oh yeah, that's a
That's
good
creepy.
moment too.
Yeah.
That's nightmare stuff.
I was like unsure as to whether to put this on or not, because I didn't really want to delve into too many modern horror films. But I will admit, there's a horror film that I saw for the first time 3 years ago, and I actually found it very creepy. I actually found it genuinely scary. And again, it's kind of a found footage horror film. There's one sequence in particular it's a WTF moment. It's like, what the hell? And I'm just wondering if either of you two have seen this film, and it's called The Taking of Deborah Logan.
Yes.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I think it's a good, scary film.
It is.
I won't ruin it then, Pete. I won't talk about it if you haven't seen it, because I don't want to ruin it. But there's a sequence near the end of the movie that's like, wow, what? Joseph must know exactly what scene I mean.
I know exactly.
It's about a woman who has presumably Alzheimer's, and a documentary crew are filming her on a day-to-day life. But then they start to realise that maybe it's not Alzheimer's, maybe there's something else.
Yeah.
It's a scary film, and there's actually a moment near the end of the film. I mean, I think the film overall is quite scary, but it's a really freaky. You'll see once you've seen the end to this film, you won't forget the image.
No.
You won't forget the image.
No, you won't.
So I just wanted to quickly, because I was just going to touch upon these briefly. Another film that did scare me, thinking about Wreck, the found footage zombie film. I'm not ashamed to admit this. I actually had a nightmare after watching that movie. I didn't realize that film actually scared me as much as what it did. I remember going to bed that night and I dreamt of, do you remember like the is she a zombie? Like the girl at the end where, the main character's in the darkness and we see this tall, slender figure slinking about.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Do you remember that sequence?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
I had a nightmare about that woman that night. And I knew it was kind of like an effect, because what I love about that film, it's very claustrophobic aspect. It's very intense, and basically Blair Witch meets 28 Days Later, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I found that I found that final sequence freaky. She's trying to be as quiet as she can in this dark room, and there's this horrible looking creature thing. Like, oh yeah. So I think Wreck is one of the better. I think it's one of my favourite found footage horror films. Actually,
it's a great film. It's a great
film. So yeah, Joseph, what's next for you, man?
Well, I've come to the last of my list, and this is probably a very primal one for me because this is when I was so young and I just could not watch this for the life of me, and it's the clown scene from Poltergeist.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know how I forgot to put that on the list, but yes, that creeped me out too. Yeah.
For the life of me, it was just no, couldn't do it.
That was going to be one of mine as well. Yes, that was going to be one of mine too.
Yeah,
it's
like doesn't he look like he looks under the bed and then isn't it like wasn't it sitting in the chair but then he looks and it's not in the chair anymore.
Yeah,
and he. Correct. It's been a long time since I've seen Poltergeist. Doesn't he look under the bed and then he comes up and then it's right behind him?
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a standout sequence. Certainly. I mean, a lot of people find clowns scary. Now, I don't know if either of you two. Let's jump into it. Has either of you two got It on there?
No.
I was going to put it as an honorable mention.
Okay.
Yeah,
because the scene that scared me, and it's the obvious one, the 1990 original TV miniseries, when he's talking to Georgie in the drain. It doesn't scare me now. It literally has no impact on me now. But as an 8-year-old boy, when that film came out, I can fully understand why people got a fear of clowns. Even if they didn't have a fear of clowns prior, I can understand how that film developed a fear of clowns in some people.
Yeah.
So are you Pete, are you a fan of it at all, or?
Yeah, I like it. I like the original Tim Curry one. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
but it never really scared you or anything, or?
No, I'm not really afraid of clowns. I don't have that kind of phobia. Although having said that, anything to do, it's more dolls with me. So the fact that was a doll, it didn't matter that it was a clown. You know, the fact that it was a doll that was on, moving on its own, that to me is wrong. That's red alert trouble. It wouldn't have to be a clown, but just the whole concept of a doll being alive.
So, Child's Play, or is that too comical? Child's Play, is that something?
That was a bit too comedic for me because the facial expressions and. It was almost too human to be a doll. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Whereas
I get that.
The face doesn't change with the poltergeist clown.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it more frightening.
Yeah.
I
watched a film recently and I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Caveat or something. It's actually on Shudder at the moment. It's an okay horror film, but I kid you not. This film had the scariest scene I've seen in a long time in a horror film. There is one sequence in particular I was completely and utterly on edge with. Seriously, I found it. Yeah, and I don't scare easy. Certainly not now. I've seen so many goddamn horror films. But there was a scene in which, I won't tell you what it leads up to, but there is a scene in which a guy he's breaking through a wall and there's a woman, dead body in there. This daughter killed her mother and her body's in there, and you want to just see the mother's corpse. She's like looking at him, staring at him. There's this whole long sequence of him. He's trying to go through this wall, and the whole time the camera has her in shot next to him, and you're just waiting for her eyes to move, her head to move, and she's got this. I tell you what, right? Because it's an actual actress they used. It's not a mannequin. The actress that they used to play this corpse was effectively creepy looking. And she sat there. She's like, her corpse is just there. And there's one moment he puts, because he's getting creeped out by it, and he puts a cover on top of her head. And the next minute he looks around and her eyes coming through it.
Oh, God.
It's like draped over. I tell you
I
what,
haven't
man,
seen
and I
this.
was sitting
I
there
haven't
and I'm
seen
like, oh my God, this is horror. And I was genuinely unnerved because it's that anticipation. There is a creepy looking dead woman that the camera is fixated on right next to the main character, and you are just waiting for this woman to move or something. It was scary, man. That one sequence was scary as hell.
Oh, I
Sounds
see that.
dreadful. It sounds dreadful.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't remember much else of the film. I don't remember much else of the movie. I just remember that sequence, that one scene. But yeah, so Pete, so what's another one for you then, man?
Another early one. It's a TV movie, and it's called Good Don't Go to Sleep.
Okay, not heard of that one.
It's really, really good. And it's about a family, and one of the daughters, she dies. Well, she's actually killed by one of the other daughters.
Okay.
She has her shoelaces tied together, and she can't get out of a burning car.
Okay.
And she comes back and haunts the family.
Yeah.
And the girl that's remaining is possessed. And the one sequence that stands out to me, she goes after her mum and dad with a pizza cutter.
Okay.
She takes it out of the drawer and I do it all the time. And she goes round the whole house, up the walls with a pizza cutter, going to kill her dad in the bath and her mum. She's in the bedroom. And for a TV movie, it's really frightening.
What's it called? What was it? Don't go to sleep.
Don't go to sleep.
Don't go to sleep. Okay. I'll Google that. As I say, I've not actually heard of it.
No,
I've
Really
never actually heard of that before.
It's a good film.
Have you got any more, Joseph?
no, I hit the list. That's me.
Have you got any more, Pete?
The other one that always gets me is when Jess is on her own in Black Christmas.
Oh,
And she finds her friends murdered, and she realises the guy's upstairs.
Yeah.
Thanks to Sergeant Nash,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
And then when the killer comes down, you see the eye. Then the killer comes down the stairs, grabs her hair. Oh God,
Yeah, that
that's
eye,
right.
that moment, because obviously we covered Black Christmas quite recently, didn't we? That moment with the killer, the eye, and just the telephone call. The telephone calls themselves are just really disturbing. And that film terrified me when I first watched it. I was 13, 14 years old, and it's an effectively scary film. I will admit, I know that Joseph's not a big fan of this film. I'm not his biggest fan either, but I do find the opening, especially when I first watched it, very scary. And that's When a Stranger Calls.
Oh,
The opening to that movie, the first 20 minutes is effectively scary. Unfortunately, much of the film after that, I don't feel like can match the opening 20 minutes. I still think it's an okay film, but it never gets better than that opening 20 minutes, in my opinion.
no.
I'm trying to think there's some more. I mean, an ending, I'm not sure if I count this as scary as such, more unexpected, but the ending to Invasion of the Body Snatchers 78, the
Oh, yeah.
when Donald Sutherland,
Yeah.
I always remember that. That was like, wow, because it was completely unexpected.
Good choice.
I'm trying to think of something that's more modern. I'm trying to think of something like from the 2000s onwards. I'll tell you a film that I think did have some creepy scenes in it, and that is The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Good film.
Yeah.
Good film.
I particularly find it creepy when a character is talking to someone and we don't see anyone there.
Yeah.
If executed correctly, it can be really creepy. And there's moments in The Others where the little girl is talking to the boy that's apparently hiding behind the curtain.
Oh God, that scene. That's one of the ones I was going to pick.
Yeah.
Really brilliant scene.
And then you hear this other voice, her brother is in the bed and you hear this other voice quickly. It's creepy. It's really creepy. Yeah. And of course, the other standout sequence that I believe was parodied in, I think it was Scary Movie 3 or 4, I don't know, one of them, is the scene where she's dressed in the little gown.
Yeah.
The wedding
Yes,
outfit.
yes.
Yeah.
Like
The little thing.
And then you
Yeah.
see the old hands, and you see, I am your daughter, with this
Yeah.
old, yeah, this
Oh,
old,
yeah.
So
yeah,
frightening.
that was,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I like The Others. The Others is a really good supernatural
Film.
horror
It
movie.
is.
I'm trying to think, can you guys think of anything else kind of modern? What about Hereditary? Was there anything in Hereditary that kind of scared you?
For me, it was kind of the end, when you kind of like you just seen like the nude people. Just kind of
I'll be honest, right? Maybe it's just my warped sense of humor. I was laughing at that point. I love Hereditary. Hereditary, I think, is a great horror film. I was actually laughing because when you start seeing all of these nudists, all of these nude people hanging about all the place, at that point, it's like, what the hell is going on? What is this?
Yeah.
Is this
Again, it's
slowly?
just the
Is this
subtlety
slowly?
of
Is this gone horror? Slowly transforming into a porno? But no, Hereditary. Yeah, I think it's a great film. Again, comes down to subtle horror. There's a moment very early on in the film, actually, where Toni Collette goes into the basement or a room or something, and she's looking through her mother's belongings. And as she's leaving the room, she looks
sees her
around
mum.
and she sees a figure in the darkness. That's creepy.
That
That's
is
the kind
creepy.
of stuff that creeps me out. It's kind of like, and there's no jump scare or anything. She switches a light on. There's no figure there, but you just see someone faintly standing there in the shadows.
Yeah.
That's and
That was creepy.
I'll say this, right? 2017's it. I like it. I don't love it, but I thought it was good. There is one moment. I don't know if you guys have you both seen 2017's it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There's a moment. I don't know if you picked up on this. It's when the boy's in the library, and the balloon floats past. Did you see the old librarian stood there in the background?
Yeah.
Can't
That's
remember.
That's clearly
She
Pennywise.
kind of like turns around and smiles. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean. That was if
That
it
creeped me
had
out.
more of that. That is when it was at its scariest. There's an old librarian, Pete, and she stood there just staring at him, and you can see a grin on her face. This old lady is clearly Pennywise in disguise, and that moment was really quite creepy, but it was very subtle, very subtle.
It was very subtle. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like anything else. I mean, the things that really get me, I find things like Dressed to Kill kind of disturbing in a way, scary, because again, it fits into that multiple personality disorder. Somebody who has another personality, they're dressing up as a woman, and going on a murderous rampage, and that, if you will, and even though you can see the twist coming right from the get-go, pretty much with Dressed to Kill, I just find the whole theme of it creepy.
It is creepy.
I do apologize. What's that?
I'll give you one. And now, obviously, it's not as good as the Japanese one, but I thought for the American version, I thought it was petrifying, and it was the 2004 Grudge.
Okay.
And it's the scene, I believe, it's with Bill Pullman's sister. She's leaving the office, and she hears the and she sends the little Chinese guard, and there's nothing, and she's watching it on the monitor. And then you see the shadow come up and go across, and it follows her the whole head. That really freaked me out. I thought that was really well done.
Some people are really freaked out just by the aren't they?
It's just
they're just
yeah.
Because you just got me thinking about like other Asian horror. Shutter, the twist where she's basically on his shoulders. That's why he's been getting the backache, and you see the figure of her on the shoulders. That was creepy. That was definitely and rather unexpected in that as well. I'm sure, if I was to go through loads of Asian horror films, that there's A Tale of Two Sisters. There's nothing that stands out to me, but I remember A Tale of Two Sisters being a scary film.
It's scary. Yeah.
Obviously, an American remake called The Uninvited, which ironically, I actually saw The Uninvited first. I didn't see Tale of Two Sisters until afterwards. But yeah, I mean, we could be here all day, couldn't we? there's
I've just thought of another 4, but not so more disturbing than scary, although quite scary. But the original Pet Sematary, the character of Zelda.
Yes.
Oh, she scared the shit out of me.
Messed up.
Yeah.
Very messed up.
Yeah.
And also for disturbing quality, although I prefer The Brood, I think The Brood is my favourite David Cronenberg film.
It's a good film.
But there's a scene in Shivers that I find deeply, deeply unsettling. And it's involving people in a lift. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens later on with that character.
Yeah.
In the lift. And I don't know how they get away with it. Because it involves a minor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's again, Shivers. It's been a long time. Now, was that Cronenberg's first film or was it Rabid?
Rabid was the second one. This was
Shivers was his debut, wasn't it? His directorial debut.
The first biggie, yeah. He'd made some other ones beforehand that were kind of very low budget.
Yeah.
This was the first kind of mainstream one.
Yeah. I'm just going to quickly say that there is a film as well, another psychological horror film that has some moments that I find creepy, and that is The Tenant, released in 1976, Roman Polanski.
Yes.
The scenes in particular that I find kind of creepy, there's a few moments in the film where he looks out of his apartment window and he sees figures just stood there staring
at him
in the toilet.
Yeah.
It's just creepy. It's just creepy.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, David Lynch is such a director that does that. You just find them moments of creepiness when nothing happens, when characters are just stood there staring silently. Like it's kind of it's surreal. It's like what's happening, and there are moments where he looks out in the apartment, he sees his figures. I actually find them scenes quite creepy. David Lynch does it like with the there's moments in like Mulholland Drive and Lost Highway. The mystery man, what's his name? Is it the Mysterious Man or whatever? The guy that actually makes a telephone call, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm in your house. He's like, what? And then he phones up in his house, and it's him that answers, even though he's right stood next to him.
Yeah.
It's the whole surrealism, like the lines between fantasy and reality just become completely blurred. And I'm really hoping Last Night in Soho, that's out in October, I'm hoping that film has some real good moments like that, because from what we can tell of the trailer, it does look very surrealistic.
It does.
So
when you're talking about David Lynch, can I just say all of Fire Walk With Me? It's terrifying. That whole film. My God.
I think Bob gave people nightmares, didn't he? I think Bob probably did.
So frightening.
Yeah.
What a film.
I mean, because I'm scared of spiders, there's moments in Arachnophobia I hate, because it plays on people's fears of spiders. I absolutely hate spiders. So I find Arachnophobia a scary film because I friggin' hate them. I hate spiders. Like when they all come out the plug hole and like one of them creeps into the popcorn. It just purely plays on people's fear. And Arachnophobia has got to be one of the most common phobias in the world. Jaws, I think the opening to Jaws kind of scared me a little bit as a kid, where she's being dragged through the water. As well. I think that probably put a lot of people off going into the water, didn't it? Put people off the beach.
Strong film.
But there's just so many. So I mean, Pete, if you had to say one horror scene for you, all right, this is kind of like slightly off topic. What is your all-time favorite death scene in horror? I know I'm putting you under the spotlight here. Right. What is your... All right, if I say to you, best death scene. What is the first scene that comes to mind that is, you know?
Probably the way that it's executed is the decapitation scene in The Omen.
Oh, okay, yeah. Great scene. Yeah, David Warner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole build-up and everything.
Yeah.
And the music and the way it's done. Your anticipation. Feeling that it's close between that and the death of Lou Ayres and Damien Omen 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under the ice. I think
Yeah.
that's terrifying. Because
That's
you're
creepy.
trapped. You can't get out. And, oh God, I can't swim.
You can't
So-
swim.
No, so that for me is another one,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
He's trapped
yeah.
under the ice.
I only
Yeah.
learned 4 years ago in
Did you?
Zante. I was in Zante of all places. Yeah, I couldn't swim. What about you, Joseph? What's if you had to say, what's your all-time favorite death scene in a horror movie?
Ooh. I would probably have to say, because just of, if you've never seen it before, and the shock of it, and it's the scene in The Thing with the, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
yeah,
Defibrillator.
crazy,
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
they're like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
yeah.
What are you doing? And then that
I love the whole scene, the
iconic-
transition with the spider leg. I mean, that's freaky, isn't it? The kind
It
of
is.
spider leg spouting out and that.
because you just don't see it coming. It's great.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
My favorite, this is going to be so cliched. Because this is probably the most iconic death scene in all of horror, but I just love it. I just go and have a guess what it is.
Is it the shower scene in Psycho?
It's the shower
Is it?
scene. I just,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, just so well put together. Bernard Herrmann's score, the way it's edited, just
Perfect.
completely unexpected. Completely. Can you imagine in 1960 the lead character in the film being brutally killed off, like just a third of the way through it? Yeah, it's my all-time favorite. I don't know if there's
Good
ever
choice.
been.
Great choice.
I don't think there's ever been. Correct me if I'm wrong. Has there ever been a death scene in a horror movie that's been so unexpected as that? In all honesty.
Hereditary, maybe.
Oh, what, the young girl? That was completely out of nowhere. No, I'll give you that. I think it was the fact of Janet Leigh was a star. I just having a big star and just killing her off.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that scene you're on about in Hereditary, yeah, that's
Yeah.
completely out of left field. But yeah, it's my all-time favorite death scene. But I will say this, for the whole build-up and everything and the way it's put together, I absolutely love the opening death scene to Halloween.
It's great.
Yeah.
Judith
Yeah.
Myers. I love it, just the whole scene, the scene as a whole. But yeah, so I think we're going to have to, because we're actually running low on time again.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, it's been good fun, man. I hope we didn't give
Great
you
fun
as well,
nightmares,
as
Pete, and
always.
that, you know, talking about some of the old horror films. You did look a bit petrified on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, I think I'll have trouble sleeping tonight.
Well, you're looking at this face, you definitely will.
No,
Ah.
not at all.
But,
not at all.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, it's been great. And we'll be back again soon. We'll decide on the next topic, what the next film and that we're going to cover. And so thanks a lot to everyone that watched, and we'll be back again soon to haunt you and torment you. And if you've liked what you've seen, please feel free to subscribe. All support's massively appreciated. And take care for now.
Take care, guys. Thanks.
See you later, guys.